majority of my time as a PT was doing work comp. Before I was a physical therapist, I was a construction worker. I grew up in Vegas, and construction was always booming. And I could make more laying pipe than I could flipping burgers like my friends. My dad was an equipment operator, so I kind of went into it that way. So when I got into school and I started working professionally, it was just kind of normal for me to go into the work comp field. So one thing that I found really early on in my PT career was there were a lot of days that I was about 10% physical therapist and about 90% therapist, because a lot of people came in, and the biggest thing that they were dealing with was head trash. And that had very physical manifestations with people. They couldn't get rid of pain because they couldn't get rid of stuff that was going on up here. So, thankfully, I came from a very nice family atmosphere. I had a wonderful mom and dad that were compassionate, and I think they kind of taught me some of that stuff. And so I was able to pass that on to a lot of my patients. And then I've just been in several roles, church, community, that I was able to provide some counseling and so forth. So I found myself doing that a lot with my patients. The role that I'm in now, obviously I'm more looking at physical health. I work for a company called ErgoScience, and we set up pre-employment, post-job offer screening. So my side of the business, I work with the majority of the trucking and transportation companies that we have. Super physically vigorous positions. Our main goal is we don't want people taking these positions and then 2 days later ending up on a work comp chart somewhere because they tried to lift a 100-pound tarp and they can't do it, but they didn't know that they couldn't do it.
Right.
And so we set up testing for companies based on that, but there's a lot of mental and physical that goes into that. One of the pieces of research that I found is that if somebody gets injured on the job, and even if they go through a successful rehab, say they have surgery or they go to PT and they come back and they're good, they had a successful rehab, their earning potential for the next 10 years is about 15% less than somebody who doesn't get injured.
Right.
So, I mean, it's much better to avoid the injury in the first place. It's great to have people that are good at their job and then they can help people recover, but it's much better to avoid it altogether. So that's kind of what we do now. And I'm sure, Rhonda, you've seen this, and probably everybody else on here has seen this. After somebody goes through an injury, it's really easy for that physical pain to start going into a mental spiral. You can't go back to work. If you can't work, you can't do a lot of the stuff that you want to do at home. Can't play ball with your kids. Do your hobbies. And so we work with a lot of people trying to explain, look, if you take care of yourself on the front end and you don't put in positions where you're going to get injured, everything else goes much, much, much better. And it's just not worth the risk to do something that your body is just not capable of doing.
Right. It's kind of like I posted something earlier, like preventative medicine is the best. And I think that's where we correlate, how we try to contribute. And interestingly enough, when people are physical, exercising, that really does a lot for brain functioning. And I'm curious to find out from you, when you're doing a workplace analysis, like what are the systems that you utilize?
So when we go out on site with somebody and we do the job demands analysis, we don't really use a system besides we go out and we measure everything. We measure every weight, every distance, every height, all the repetitions. All of our testing is what is called simulative testing, so we don't use any type of machine testing. So when we set up testing for companies, those candidates don't get on a machine and see, how much force they can develop with their arms or their legs or their back or anything like that. All of it is job simulation. So if somebody has to lift a 100-pound tarp at work, we make them lift a 100-pound tarp. So typically the company will provide us tarps and whatever tools, accessories required for that job, and we make them do those same things. But it typically requires several hours on site, depending what the job is that we're analyzing. and we literally just watch them do what they have to do. And then we test them based on exactly what they do. So some jobs are super easy. If somebody's, conveyor belt type of work and they do the same thing 8,000 times a day, it's pretty easy. You have maintenance guys that they might not do the same thing at all during the day, and they have 50,000 different tasks that they do. So it really depends on what they're doing, but we spend a lot of time doing the job analysis because all of our testing is based directly off of that job analysis.
And do you offer like injury preventive measures to different companies and make recommendations to how to keep their employees safe? I imagine that's a big part of what you provide.
It is. It's a big part of it. And so anytime we go in, a lot of the companies that we deal with, there's one I'm thinking of off the top of my head. One of their critical job tasks is to lift 40 pounds up to 84 inches, which some people are disqualified because they just can't, no matter if there was any weight at all, they can't reach 84 inches. Even somebody completely healthy, if you do that enough, you're going to get injured. There's just no way around it. So our first suggestion is always trying to engineer out something that's potentially dangerous. The things that we can't engineer out, at least we can hire people who are physically able to do those things. But yeah, our first suggestion is always, look, if you have somebody doing this job long enough, they're going to get injured. Unless you got somebody that's 7 feet tall.
Yeah, I remember when I first bumped into you on LinkedIn, you were having a discussion about physical ability testing. And I was thinking of my husband, who's actually in heavy highway construction. And one day, one of his foremen led the whole team in stretching exercises, and unless you actually perform some type of assessment, sometimes you don't realize, oh man, like I really need to pay attention to how I'm moving and how I'm taking care of my body. So yeah, that's hey, TJ.
One interesting thing with this field, I've worked with truckers pretty much my whole professional career, and I love them, but there's no group of individuals in the whole country that are less healthy than truck drivers in general. And that's going by data. That's not just me making that. Yeah. The data says that truck drivers are the least healthy working population in the United States.
You know what's crazy about that?
Yeah.
And I've talked to a couple of them that have got into it, and their doctors have told them that they're one of the least healthy, workers, but they have some of the most potential to be the healthiest if they need to, because they have the time.
It's
a goal they put into it. Like they have the time. They're on their own. There's no there's nobody saying, hey, you got to go here or there. Like they get crock pots, right? Cook on the road. When they get to the shipper receiver, they did X amount of steps. They're able to drink what they need to drink, while in the car, or in the truck. And so it's a weird balance, but the stress level is so high,
right,
that, cigarettes and things like that tend to play a little bit more of a role in it. It's kind of a weird balance, but I understand, that point makes sense. And I don't want to distract everybody because I did trim the beard and went with the goatee. That's what we're calling it.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
The gingeriness of the beard got almost just a little bit too dirty, and my wife had to pull the plug. So I went with the goatee, and we're back on topic. Go ahead, Justin.
Well, if facial hair was requisite, I'd get kicked off the show because I'm almost 50 years old and I can't grow facial hair. I didn't shave today.
But you look clean. You look professional. I trust you with my 401k.
Thank you. Well, so write me a check and I'll see what I can do with it.
That's something else.
I'll tell you, a lot of the options for food on the road aren't what they used to be. When I first started driving, there were restaurants and sit-down meals that were home cooked, and the truck stops are gone. Now we have travel plazas with fast food, and if you're lucky, great. You can get a Subway.
There was one right off the I remember the exit from the highway, and after the morning after football games, before we had to go and watch film, we'd all go over there. It was called Kagan's Corner. So remember, it was like biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
And we were in high school, so it was like $2.50 for a huge thing of biscuits and gravy, and
super healthy.
Yeah, super healthy. I mean, it was like home cooked meals, but still, it was one of those things. And that's the thing is the potential's there, but it has to be if they make the choice, how many people are able to have a crock pot in their office, right, to do that? And if they make the decision to go to that, it takes work. It takes extra planning. right? You're already trying to plan your trips and plan all this other stuff. And it's like, what do I do? I got to make sure I get to the grocery. The drivers I have that are really good at it. It takes a lot of time in there, and their wives help them out a lot. So like, they'll try to get through the house because they got to get their groceries right to their fridge to be able to cook. And then if not, then their wife will meet them. Like they're really committed to it. And a lot of times it takes a scare, a doctor's visit or something where they're like, hey, you got to do this.
Right.
But, because they are determined and good at planning, when you see them lock in on it, they go all in. It's pretty cool.
I mean, and that goes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Justin. I was just going to say that goes hand in hand with like the mental health aspect. Like if you're putting garbage in your mouth, you're going to feel lousy. You're going to react sluggish. Your response is going to be delayed. You're going to get tired. Your body's going to ache. You're going to be sloppy.
Well, you are what you eat.
The research is showing now, again, and I hate to pick on drivers because I work with them all the time, but the research is showing now, like the amount of energy drinks that drivers are taking in. I mean, and if you had to pick like one thing that is the worst thing for your body, probably besides crack, it's energy drinks. Yep. And if you're down in two or three of those a day, you're hitting that super high, and then you're crashing, and then you feel like crap afterwards.
That's the struggle. That's the struggle for energy, though, that you look at, because it's like, before I talked to Rhonda before, like, what was your degree in, Rhonda? You said
she has health exercise science.
Yeah. Which I had a lot of classes overlap with that, because my minor was in sport, or my major was in sports medicine, athletic training. Then I had a minor in exercise science, and then so I did the NASM. And then when I first got out, I was doing PT. Personal training and physical therapy, both. It was like I was at a clinic that did both, and so I really got into it. And I've got freight bod now, is what I call it. But back then I was riding bikes, and the physiology of it is, when they say like just the physics, right? The something in motion tends to stay in motion. It's extreme. So I used to even talk to my clients like, I'm sitting there, and I just can't get the energy to do it. I'm like, get up and just do something. Like get up, unload the dishwasher. Yeah. Right? Vacuum or something. And as soon as you do that, your mindset to like go do something becomes a lot different. And that's a struggle for drivers, because you're sitting in the chair or in the driver's seat for so long that to get that motivation to move, in that just actual natural energy is tough, And so again, it's a struggle. It's a schedule type thing in which it's like, hey, as soon as I park, I'm getting out, I'm walking around the truck stop, or I'm doing this or that, or it's a struggle, though, because it's a job that requires you, like when you're at your desk, there's all the types of stuff you could do in the office to get up and move. When you're driving, you can't just get up and
step out.
Yeah. So
I wrote a series of blogs several months ago, and it was about this whole cycle. Yeah. It's not just one piece, but so you're drinking the energy drinks. Well, that throws off your sleep.
Yep.
You can't sleep, your stress goes up. And once your stress goes up, you start taking on, you gain weight. And so all of this stuff starts playing together. And it's just a massive spiral. Yeah. And if you want to stay away from it, you really have to be very directed in your decision making. I mean, you make a conscious choice that I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do that. And when I stop, I'm not just going to, go in and have a candy bar. I'm going to do a couple of exercises. And I'm going to try to get to sleep on time, and I'm not going to drink the energy drinks. I'm going to eat some stuff that's actually good for me. And it takes a while for that stuff to all start making positive changes in your body. Yeah. But anybody that's done it knows that, because you don't even realize how crappy you feel all the time when you feel that way every day, all because it's the norm. So once you make the changes, you can notice. But yeah, somebody's got to be extremely proactive and really dedicated to make those changes.
And that's
where health risk assessments really come into play, because you can sit down and kind of navigate where the struggles are, and start to make those. I like to do it like in baby steps, because if you try to change somebody's entire lifestyle, they're just not. That's not reasonable, and they're not going to stick with it.
I started CrossFit, and I'm gonna do this CrossFit for 2 weeks. Like, do something that's sustainable. Start small. Work your way up. You know what I mean? And so it's just like learning to read, because it affects your mental health, just like wearing like a puffy vest. I mean, you look at Brandon Bay wearing the vest, that could affect your mental health. You got to have confidence to be able to do that. So,
hey, TJ,
brain injections.
What the first rule of CrossFit? always talk about CrossFit.
Always talk about CrossFit. Understandable.
Think about the options for food that a guy has. You walk into a travel plaza, you got a whole aisle of combos and candy bars and candy corn.
Hardee's that's attached
the
to
other
it.
side of it is a whole aisle of chips and deep fried crap. And then there's a little kiosk with like 8 bananas and 14 apples. That's it. So your choices are
perfect. So
too.
we talked about that, when you stop, the food options, all this stuff at truck stops. We got Anthony on, right? Anthony.
Yes.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing?
Hi.
Good. Hey, how do you pronounce your? Is it Petitte?
Petitte.
Yeah, it is. It's Petitte.
Okay. All right. So Anthony, great timing. That's why I popped in right when we did. Talk first of all, let's do this. Go over a little bit about yourself, your background, what you do, and then transition that into what we're kind of talking about now is just those options that drivers have and what they are exposed to and stuff they may not know about that you may offer.
Yeah, of course. Well, thanks for having me on. I really do appreciate it. Love putting a face to a name. I talk to pretty much everybody here on the call, on LinkedIn or some sort of social media, and we just never really seen each other outside of LinkedIn, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So thank you for having me on. A little bit about my background. Actually, was 6 years in digital marketing and 5 years in recruiting before I even made it to the trucking world. My late uncle, he was a Teamster driver, so he drove trucks all of his life. And then he also had a parking facility in the south side of Chicago. I jumped on to help him out. He actually asked me to because I have the background in digital marketing. He wanted to, bring over the truck drivers that way through a website, through different Google rankings and whatnot. So at that point, I started really learning about the business. Of course, my uncle was in the business all his life. I saw him get in a truck, even at Teamsters during short hauls. I saw the problems that he had as a driver, right? Even when we're talking about now, right? The mental and physical health of my uncle deteriorated over the years just because of the transportation industry. It's a tough industry, as you know, but flash forward, I am the CEO and founder of TruckPark, as most of you may know who I am. And, we've created this business, background noise, created some business to help the truck drivers find safe and available parking. Mm-hmm. So not only are we helping independent, and owner-operator truck drivers, but we're also helping the carriers, we're helping the brokers, we're helping the shippers. So jumping in now, right into the topic, all right? Just want to show you really quick, I am actually holding my beer at 5:30 my time, the normal time, and my hands started getting cold, so I had to put it down. But
if you're Anthony, if your hand's getting cold, you're not drinking it fast enough.
Yeah, I know. I got to drink a little quicker. I actually have another beer sitting on the counter in case I have to crack it open. So we're all good. I know how to party.
Andy, I remember we had a conversation. You were talking. I'm not sure how long you were into the app process, or I'm sorry if the app was already out, but we were talking about healthy options and locating places for drivers to maybe work out or what have you. And I was looking, and you have, I guess, through the app, drivers can pay for a subscription. They can get some health counseling. You have some health coaches, and then cool little tracking device so they can monitor their progress.
Yeah, so we're doing a bunch of things. We have so many different partnerships on different ends of the spectrum. But what you're referring to is we actually, when we get into mental health and the physical health, we actually partnered up with Genie MD. That was in actually April this year. Sometimes I say last year because COVID has just made this year the longest breathing year ever in history. But so we partnered up with this company. They're based out of San Francisco. There's an application. Drivers can use it. They can literally just log on and get on-demand access to doctors as well as live prescriptions. So it's something just totally cool within that space because, the drivers on the road 180 to 212 days a year, and they're constantly, they face all these challenges, and one of them is the physical health, right? At all the places they go, they're eating the right foods all the time, and not all the time are they exercising, and they're sitting in trucks for 8 to 10 hours a day, and there's just a lot of physical conditioning that they should do, but they don't have access to that. So us partnering up with Genie MD was allowed us to also offer a value-added service, but then on top of it, show drivers that we really care, show drivers that they can now have on-demand access. You don't have to go back to your hometowns
Right.
to do this. And a lot of drivers think that because it's the old school mentality, the old school way of thinking, saying, well, okay, I'm not really sure what's going on, but my arm is it doesn't feel well. I'm literally in, I don't know, Salt Lake, Utah, but I have to go back to my hometown of Loretto, Texas, and that's the only place I can see my doctor. We're saying you don't have to do that anymore. All you have to do is simply go on your phone, and we're actually making it live through the TruckPark app.
Right.
It's going to be a 3-click process. Talk to a doctor, get your prescription, be happy.
I'm kind of thinking.
Then they could still deliver the load, which is the most important to me.
Yeah.
That is the most important.
I'm kind of thinking another thing we've seen just in the wellness realm to begin with is with COVID is more people are open to telemedicine, so reaching out through doctors through an app, whereas before there were some concerns, privacy issue and what have you, and people weren't utilizing those services as much. And I know that I've definitely seen in some of the reports out there showing the data that people are definitely engaging in those types of services. So that's awesome.
Yeah, no,
what kind of access? So when I look at just like from our operation side, like what kind of access do like other outside of just the drivers, like do dispatchers have access to like if they've got a dispatcher, right, that they're feeding them loads and coordinating them and doing all the planning, do they have access to something like that in which they could come on and help? They could go on and help find them parking, or they could go on and help find them whatever it is ahead of time and add that to the plan that they put out?
Yes, certainly. So for those who don't know, we actually have another platform called the TruckPark Reserve. It's a web platform, and it's strictly for carriers, brokers, and shippers. And so it allows these what do you want to call it, business use cases or segments of business, which are the brokers, carriers, and shippers, to actually have managed parking, reduce chronic turnover, as well as route planning efficiently. And so with that, they're also going to have this on-demand access to Genie MD, and it will just be literally for the dispatcher or for the safety manager. So we want to kind of characterize it or customize it for that particular individual who's using it. And we're going to have all sorts of different setups. So a company can create a profile, but then we've actually allowed it to create over 1,200 profiles. So you can have fleet managers and dispatchers, just like naming right now. You can have drivers, but everybody will have access to the health version of the application. So, and the health, when I say that, I know it's kind of broad, but the health version we're going to have within the platform, as I just alluded to, as well as the application, there's going to be like an extra page, and the page is going to say all the health items that we actually feature. So it is Genie MD is one of them, and the other business that we have is with UCT Health. So all the UCT Health locations are located at the Pilot Flying J locations. Pretty much, I would say about 40 locations across the country, really prevalent in the Northeast. And drivers can also pull up there. They can go into the clinics, which is the trailers that actually sit right next to the Pilot Flying J, fuel ups, so to speak. And they can go in there and they can talk to a nurse if they want to, and talk to a live person. So we're just doing a lot of things in the mental and physical health category.
And that's something because I was looking at it from the standpoint of, when it comes down to health and goals and things, there's a lot of success when you do it as a team or as a group or even as a have a partner. And so, when I look at how you can bridge the gap there with, office space and office workers' health with, a dispatcher, and his driver getting, on the same, maybe a competition, I am at 1,500 steps, man, while you're not in a truck, kind of pushing each other and working that way to see it. And I think that's key. I think that's a lot of what people need is that motivation and push forward. And Brandon, touch on this, Brandon, because I'm always thinking business constantly. So I'm thinking from a brokerage side, I'm saying, hey, I want to source carriers, right? I want drivers to be my friend. I'm going to get in with them and say, hey, start talking to them. Hey, you want to get in this challenge with me? You want to, now all of a sudden, you're a little bit more connected. Not everybody thinks that deep and is looking for the carrier that way. But what are your thoughts on that?
Relationship building opportunity for sure.
So, my first thought that came to mind is that we operate in so many different systems. There's a lot of great technology out there, along with yours, Anthony. But what type of integrations do you offer within, any type of TMS, to where if I'm a broker and I'm trying to leverage that tool for my carriers, what type of integrations with, different TMSs, or if you went down that path to where we could make it a seamless transition to be able to use that tool along with, every other tool that we have. I think probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the kickback you get, especially from a driver, is that there's so many damn apps out there. There's so many different things I got to click on. Sure. So what are you doing from a company standpoint to make it seamless for the driver, not only the driver, but the broker and everyone else?
That's a great question. So we made it super simple. I mean, our process is sleek, it's seamless, but it's a 3 to 5 step process. We wanted to keep it simple so that anybody can use it. It's essentially universal. But in addition to that, we actually, in terms of technology, to integrate with a TMS or a load board or digital load board, which we've already had partnerships with, a number of them. We use a RESTful API, and that's probably the easiest way to integrate with anybody. And so they can pull our information, our data into their systems, and then vice versa. And those systems pretty much talk to each other. I'm definitely not a software developer or solutions architect by any means. And if you wanted to even get deeper in those conversations, or somebody else wanted to, I would definitely bring out my development team, because they're rock stars. But
Anthony,
I'm not on that topic.
I was going to say, you're in a safe space with this group.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, we got started on time this week, and we got it streamed. So, we definitely don't claim to be technology buffs, but I like to play devil's advocate and just ask those kind of questions for people that are wondering.
So, I hate to burst your bubble when you get started on time. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Hey, Justin,
I do appreciate that.
Justin, yes. Touch on when you look at like Anthony's platform and what he's doing there. Is that something that you guys look at? Is that something that you guys look to pair to? I mean, how does that work on your end when it comes to options and bringing those to the forefront for drivers? Or is that something you guys all offer from what you do there at ErgoScience?
It's not, because we're trying to control what happens before they actually take the job. So,
gotcha. Yep.
And sure, we give advice to companies about some things that can happen afterwards. But typically, we're trying to hit people before you ever get into the truck, or before a carrier puts somebody in the truck. Our conversation with them is, are you sure you want to put that person in your truck? We have, I have hiring folks come to me every once in a while and say, I'll go out and look at our latest group of hires, and it looks like I'm on the set of The Walking Dead. They're saying, I know half these guys are going to be gone within 2 weeks. Either they'll be on my work comp list, or they've left and gone somewhere else. So we try to get it ahead of the curve. But then when I'm talking to people individually, or when I'm out on a job site, that's when I'm doing some of my coaching about, look, you're here now, you've got the job, you've got to take care of yourself. I mean, nobody else is going to take care of you. You're in a position where it's so easy to start on that slippery slope, weight, losing sleep, all the stuff we talked about previously. So I'm a huge advocate for anything like that, any technology, any advancement that makes it easier for people to find the help that they need, because that's one of the things that, is so lacking, is just, it's not even necessarily just the access, though access can be difficult sometimes. It's that there can be access and people don't know about it. So if they don't know how to utilize what's out there, if they don't know where to go to get to a doc, if they don't know that they can find a nurse on the road, if they don't know these things, they're just going to pass it up and they're going to stay on their spiral. The more we can educate, whether it's drivers, construction workers, warehouse employees, that there are services available, that's when, and I try to look at it at a global scale, like all of our insurance rates go down, or could go down, if people took better care of themselves.
Yep.
The reason why our healthcare is so freaking expensive is because as a country, we are so out of shape.
Yeah.
So the more people we can educate and teach how to be healthy, the better off we all are as a company, or as a community, or as a nation, because everybody's doing a little bit better. So, look out for each other, educate each other. let people know what's out there. So yeah, things like what Anthony is doing, that's fantastic.
Thank
And
you
I
for
saw
sharing
your
that.
hand up, so I was waiting.
Oh, yeah, I was just, whenever he said, out of shape, I was just saying that's me.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
I was gonna say, Justin, I'm really surprised at the different professions that don't do some type of physical assessment analysis before they're hiring people to do a job where they could potentially injure themselves. And then the cost, not only long-term, but just in the short term, that's just shocking to me.
It's crazy. I mean, of course, I'm trying to sell something to people, so I know all these numbers, but even if I wasn't trying, when I was a PT, like I was all about injuries, because when you injure your employees, I treat them and I get paid for it.
Yeah.
By all means, let everybody get injured at work. But even then, it's just bad business, because it makes my cost go up. When you have people at your warehouse that get injured, it costs me more money to buy that product because your efficiency goes down. And I mean, it's a whole chain of events. But the average injury right now, any lost time injury, the average cost is about $40,000. And so I'll tell people that, and they'll say, well, so you have to make up $40,000 of revenue. And that's not true, because your profit margin is probably only between 3 and 5%. So really make up for that $40,000 injury, you got to sell about $2 million worth of product to make that up. I mean, the numbers become astronomical really, really quickly. There's a company we started working with recently, and in the first year this sounds like patting my back, but it wasn't me. But the first year we worked with them, their work comp costs went down by $3 million. And that's just a sad commentary on how much injury they were having previously. So
that goes to show that when people say they're not in sales, they are.
Everybody's in sales.
When you say, when you're dealing with proactive medicine, right? Or even, at the other end, you're saying, I don't want to fix this person, because then I don't make any money. To get people to continue to come to you, you got to make them realize why it's important to continue to come to you, right? Give them facts, give them numbers like that, give them realistic, give them situations and stuff, so I look at it from this standpoint.
Sorry.
If it's no matter what you're doing, and you don't, that's why, when you look at, you want to call it sales, all it is education. Mm-hmm. Even if you're doing sales, when you're trying to land an account, no matter what it is, if you can educate, if I can call a lead and I can educate them on my operation, but mainly on theirs,
right,
it goes a long way. And I think that's a huge thing in this industry. And it goes from everything from health to from everything from health, fitness to everything, and how you can connect with people. And, you look at, I'm just looking at the comments here. Of course, it's about dad jokes. But look at that. That's from health to dad jokes. And listen, people ask how I stay so cool. I mean, look how many fans I got.
Both of them.
But really though,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I've been a little distracted. Whoever stole my Microsoft Office, I will find you. You have my word.
Oh man, I can't.
They're so bad.
I'd have to jump after this beer.
They are so bad.
Sorry, viewers.
Now, the hard part, real quick, and I know we're going down the dad joke lane, which those were pretty solid, TJ, honestly. But the hard part you're going to have, in my mind, with ever getting drivers on board, even from a company standpoint, is there's such a shortage for drivers. And at the end of the day, you can put these things in place, but our industry as a whole has such a shortage that if these guys don't want to do it, they're going to tell you to piss off. And from a company standpoint, you can't afford to lose a driver right now. And you can put all these things in place. I worked for Union Pacific Railroad. Even to get hired, I had to go and get on a stationary cycle. And you saw people up there that were 300 pounds cycling their life away, pass a test. Some of them made them, some of it didn't. Yeah. We had to do stretches. We had to go into a physical therapist office, and I think we had to do a bunch of different exercises. Then every day at roll call, we had to do certain exercises. To me, it was helpful because I got a lot of activity. But my point of the story, this whole thing is that, how do we change the driver's mindset to want them to be healthy? How do we do that with the driver shortage? How do we do that with a fear of losing them? When they enacted the drug test that came out, how many drivers did we lose? So it shorted it even more on top of a market. So how do you incorporate that? That's the real question of incorporating that in a market, in a system, in an industry where it's not the norm. And,
Again,
and you can't make them do things.
It's educating and giving examples.
You have to
Yeah,
educate and
yep.
show value and demonstrate how that's going to make you feel better overall and improve the quality of your life. Really.
And know how the business works.
I don't disagree.
Know how the business,
and I'm playing devil's advocate, but Rhonda, I'll have you call Dennis, who's been a driver at the same company for 15 years. And by God, he's not going to do these stupid exercises.
Here's how you do it. Know how the business works. Number one, to get something done, you're going to need probably resources and time to do it, right? To do that, you're going to have to go to your leadership or executives and sell it to them. How can you do that? Retention, right? Recruiting, right? Relationships with customers. A guy's a lot less likely to go off on a shipper or whatever it is when he's there. Those little things, they add up, right? How do you sell it to a driver? Just like I talked about before with bringing numbers to them, bring it to the forefront, right? Talking to them about, hey, here's what everybody's earning, right? Here's the number of loads they're doing. Here's how many hours they're putting in on their e-logs. Hey, here's who's doing this fitness program that we got going. Show them the correlation.
Can I take my seatbelt off?
I'm telling you, that correlation will go a long way, and it'll show the number.
Take my seatbelt off. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I got to take my seatbelt off for a second. When I say this, is because the biggest thing I've been trying to push for so long now is education in this industry. And
absolutely,
trust me, I've lived and breathed in this industry because my uncle lived and breathed as a truck driver. I've seen his pain points. And when I say my late uncle, it's because my uncle passed away from a heart attack. He died as a fluke. One day, my cousin just found him on the floor because he didn't have the proper help. He just didn't have. He was sitting in trucks all day. He went to the truck stops, he ate the food there, and it's not healthy. It's not. The industry needs to change, and there needs to be some sort of educational coaching, educational perspective put onto these drivers. It's not only the drivers. Everybody wants to talk drivers. It's the carriers, the brokers, the shippers. Right. Me, it's you, it's everybody. There needs to be education coached to people.
And something on top of that as well, on top of the education, there's got to be some incentive.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some incentive to do it, because if you're just trying to educate the drivers, yeah, that's great. And you might get one every once in a while who just because of the education decides to make a life change. But unless you incentivize it, you're not going to get very many takers. It's hard to communicate that to a CEO or a CFO until you start showing them, well, look, so say you incentivize your drivers to start becoming more healthy. Now look at what your insurance rates do, and look at what your work comp insurance does, and look how many fewer accidents you have. So you might incentivize your drivers even with some cash stuff, but your bottom line is going to go up because you're saving a ton of money. Yeah. What you pay out to your drivers and incentives is going to be a drop in the bucket compared to the money that you save on insurance, on premiums, there's a lot of stuff to drive it.
On CSA scores, on safety time spent on fixing electronic logs, right? All that stuff goes in, when you're not focused, when you're not in it, and you're messing up on your logs, the time it takes, the amount of time safety has to put in, all that stuff plays into your insurance, plays into your CSA scores, plays into then, right? Bigger CSA scores, better insurance, all that stuff plays into how many customers look at that, right? Right. They look at that type of thing. The incentive, if you could find a way that it's sad sometimes to think about, but to incentivize, to go to your executives and say, hey, this is what we can save on this end. Now we can incentivize the drivers financially, because here's what I project we can do financially, right? So what we're incentivizing them is below that line, right? This is profit that we wouldn't have in the first place, right? Or you can incentivize drivers just in general, from a standpoint of staying in front of them. So when you look at communication with drivers from an operational standpoint, or even anybody in an office, right? A lot of it has to do strictly with business, right? If I'm sending, and I was just thinking about this, if I'm sending out an email to the whole fleet, it's usually because it's about some sort of procedure that's happening, some sort of rule in which, hey, we're dropping trailers, not doing pre-trips, whatever it is, right? But how often am I sending? Could I put together, right, using Anthony's platform and Justin's information, an actual newsletter that goes to them every single day from your dispatch team, from your company? They're with their phone. They're already, how many subscriptions do you think they already got when they're waiting in their truck, right? And they see every day coming from their company that they work for about how many drivers careers end early because of, like Anthony's uncle, because of sickness. Stuff in the news, things that are happening, things you can do, stuff about Anthony's platform, stuff about Justin's platform, options right in front of them, right? I'm providing that as a carrier. I'm incentivized to do that for a couple of reasons. Number one, retention, because they think they're getting taken care of. They feel somebody's caring about them in front of them every day with this information, right? These are things you could do now with technology and set it up so it's automatic, right? And they're engaged with you and engaged with, because here's what's happening. I'm telling you right now, especially in a market like now, if you're not engaged with your drivers, they're engaged with either other drivers or another company.
Right.
They're getting recruited right and left. They're on their phone. Rather than getting on their phone and looking at other job opportunities, right? Other things like that. They're on their phone reading about what you just sent them, about things you can do for them, about ways you can help them. It's coming from their company.
Yep.
So
That's right on.
One thing you said, TJ, is that it's sad, but the truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter if you're in sales, operations, you're a driver, or just everyday life. Incentives drive behaviors. So it doesn't matter where you're at. If you have to incentivize someone because you want a certain behavior, everybody's chasing the carrot. I don't care if you're in sales, you're a driver, anything. Everybody's always dangling it. So anytime you want to shift the focus, you have to incentivize, because incentives drives behavior, right?
That's the reality. So when I say it's sad, I just mean basically the reality of it is it's business, no matter what, no matter how you try to twist it. But at the end of the day, you got to pull yourself from that moral, or that, that way. I'm just going to do this for my own to the fact that, hey, this is a business. You still want to help them. At the end of the day, you're still going to get satisfaction from knowing they're healthy. There's no way around that. Yeah. But in order to sell it to an executive, in order to sell it to a driver, dispatcher, office workers, there's got to be incentive. It's just business.
And an interesting thing is, if say you have to put out in the beginning and incentivize, if after a while people start to enjoy it and they see the value internally, mentally, physically versus the monetary one. And that's kind of really where you want to get to. You want to help people find the best way to motivate themselves to be their best self.
What do they do when they find that, Rhonda? Once they get that feeling of that, what do they start doing?
They start doing it.
Well, what do they start doing though after they continue to do it and they see the results? What do? They tell people.
Sometimes they fall off.
Tell people. They're telling everybody. They're telling the guys in the fleet, right? They're telling everybody, hey, Circle, I came over here. Listen, I understand there may be better accounts here and there. They changed my life. Now you've got somebody selling for you. Pete Kemp talked about that. You can have.
Well, I will say that happens with our team.
What you have going and your mantra and what you want to have going to them, they'll be your greatest salesmen. They'll be your greatest recruiters, greatest retention, because they're selling what you just did and what you showed them. And again, yes, you're right. The incentive is for them is that, but at the same time, they are unknowingly telling people about what they're doing at Circle Logistics, name the company, whatever it is. Very true.
But I think to Anthony's point, education is key. Like Justin and I, when we were all by ourselves at the beginning, we were kind of talking about that. Like, I don't think that there's enough education about how best to take care of your mental health and your physical health. And then there's stigmas around mental health and how we talk about that and who's willing to share that information. People are afraid of physical assessments because they think that it's going to be used against them. So it's like,
or they don't want to know.
Yeah. Or same thing as like our HR departments or employee assistant programs. All these things are resources, but unfortunately sometimes they're seen not in the best light.
Every driver that has to go to a physical or any kind of wellness, I can tell you from experience for the last 10 years, they all say, they're just going to take these scores and up my rates. They're just going to jack my insurance next year.
Yeah.
So you've got to provide some sort of incentive for it.
Anthony, have you looked into that? Because if you look at it like a business, right, can get, write-offs and stuff for offering proactive or even, discounts for proactive, a YMCA membership or a fitness membership to their office workers. Is that something you looked into getting partnership wise with incentives to carriers to be able to offer it to their drivers same way?
Yeah. So I hate to come out here and actually sell anything, but we are coming out with a lifestyle card, which we call it. So right now the industry has fuel card, which helps on fuel and helps on maintenance. Ours does that as well, but we also add on to what you just named. So we're actually offering truck drivers gym membership discounts. Yes. They go like a Planet Fitness, and instead of paying $10 a month, they pay $5 a month. It's 50% right there, right? So we're also offering cash back. We're offering healthier incentives, so they can actually, every time they can go anywhere. They go to Pilot Flying J, go to Love's, T Petro, Mr. Fuel, whatever. Every time they actually go just swipe the card, they get reward points. We're actually building a unique proprietary reward system right now. It's for all the listeners. And I want to tell everybody the reward system can allow them to get healthy foods. We're only going to partner with companies, big brand companies that offer healthy foods. Now, there's some mixtures of those, whether you want to get the healthy side or you want to get, the fast food side. Like we're partnering up with, for example, Chick-fil-A, right? Chick-fil-A does have healthy options on their menu. It's not the whole thing is not healthy, but there is some healthy options. So to answer your question, we are providing a ton of discounts. We're providing a lot of resources. We're doing everything we can. And to go back to what Justin was saying, yes, there is education. You have to educate. That's 100%. I stand by that. But at the same time, you also have to incentivize people. That's what we're doing.
What I'm saying, again, I'm always thinking business. I'm probably going into this. I don't even work for you or your company, but I almost kind of want to now. But what I'm saying is like, have you talked to the industry that has the most money in the United States, which is the insurance industry, right? So that the company that's offering benefits to their employees is getting a discount, right, on that because they're giving, they're getting that for the proactive healthcare. So with owner operators, you may have like where they have their own health insurance, but have you gotten to where you say, hey, this owner operator as a truck driver could get discounts on their own health insurance if they're utilizing the health benefits that I bring from my platform?
Now that you mentioned that, TJ, that's actually, we have that where at Global Trans through HealthJoy, it's not the same thing, but through our insurance, we get a discount through using their services. So Anthony, that would be a great opportunity.
It makes sense, right? The insurance actually pays for that discount because they're being proactive using like a Justin or whatever it is from that proactive model of now less insurance claims.
100% less insurance claims. I mean, the insurance model could be used for so many different facets in this trucking business, right? I mean, when I look at, and I'm looking at insurance companies right now, I'm looking down on the parking side, but just as you alluded to, it could be used for health side as well. And maybe that's something we talk about, Rhonda, for global trucking. That's not something I'm 100% in right now because I don't know enough about the space.
Sure.
I know about the space.
Definitely talk.
We'll get on a call. Anthony. Hey, I got Red Cross Blue Shield on the horn.
There you go. Okay. Bring them at me. I'm all about it.
Just talk a percentage. Percentage.
You may have seen we're doing the TruckPark X Games. All right. So we're all about promoting health, safety, whatever you want to do in a mental, physical capacity for TruckPark X Games. Come talk to me and we'll do it. I promise you.
Oh, that's amazing.
X Games, you could even do just fitness challenges. You know what I mean? Guys pull up to the truck stop. He's got to go over, lower the landing gear, right? Got to go over, lower the landing gear, slide the tandems, run over, jump up in the back,
in the rain.
You know what I mean? That's all this types of stuff.
There you go. It helps out with your biceps.
You ever lower your
biceps that way?
You ever had to lower or raise a landing gear? Big old. I mean, Tony, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, especially when it's cold.
That's shoulder strength.
we test for that.
Well, I was just going to say, Justin to you guys.
So, one of the big things that fails, folks, is when we test for the pre-trip inspection because they can't squat. So
that makes sense.
And people want to complain about it when we say, you've got to kneel, you've got to crawl, you got to stand back up, you've got to climb up on this thing. Well, I never have to do that. And I'm like, well, do you ever do a pre-truck inspection? Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
I saw that meme. I saw the meme the other day of some old school trucker. It was like 4 million miles, 30 years on the road, 3 pre-trip inspections.
That's about right.
I gotta say, I really appreciate what you, Justin and Anthony, both are doing. Like both of you caught my eye, like right off the get-go, when I started learning more about our industry, I saw both of your names and I was like, really excited to connect with you and follow you and definitely appreciate you.
Thank you.
It's cool to like see like tidbits of what Anthony or Justin does. Like I knew what Justin has done for a while now. He's tagged me some posts. Anthony, I've learned about recently, seen him on What the Truck and stuff. And to come on and really hear, that's why I get fired up. Sorry, I'm not trying to become part of your sales team, Anthony, but I got some ideas. We'll talk.
No, it's good. Hey, give me a call.
but-
I'm
but
all about open stuff.
The cool part about it is you're not disappointed. It's more than what you even thought you'd hear. You know what I mean? Like it's just a cool thing for everybody to understand, like what exactly is available out there and what people are doing. I mean, to know that, that I'm bringing, guys in that are tested already, whether if I got a bunch of drop and hook accounts, right, where every account you got to drop and hook a trailer, and they're tested on whether they can raise and lower a landing gear, which they're going to be doing every single day. I mean, those are huge things that save you. Recruiting, I mean, you're bringing in the wrong people. It's time and money like crazy.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that type of education too, though, just you look at, I don't care if you're a broker, I don't care if you're in sales, a shipper, no matter what it is, learning that and knowing that can go a long way, because relationships matter, and relationships with drivers are
and that's how you can add value. So if you're a broker and you're talking to somebody, a driver or what have you, you can say, hey, give them some ideas of resources that are out there to help them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks for what you're doing, guys.
Yeah,
we
appreciate it.
Yep. It's all word of mouth in this business, as we all know. So
Certainly it is.
make one driver happy, make 10 of them happy.
Yep.
That's right.
And that's the when we talk about giving drivers business, Jason talked about, I obviously said capacity fishing from the same pond. He said, I'm adding fish to the pond, right? I'm taking 5 truck carriers, making them 20, 30, 40. I thought that was very powerful, but you could do that in other ways besides just giving them business. You can take a 5 truck carrier, make them 20, 30, 40 trucks because of what you bring to the table. And the only way I could think of that would be like, just the incentive from that side of things. There's so much potential there. I mean, you guys, it's a great thing, not only business wise, but just for the how long this industry then can sustain, how long it can continue to bring drivers in with those incentives. So, just like this, for me, the only phrase that can come to my mind is the same reason why Snoop Dogg carries an umbrella. Faux drizzle.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
Well, I gotta put the kids to bed.
Another
About that
beer now
time.
for that one. Goodness.
Well, listen, guys. Hey, thank you so much for coming on. Honestly, you guys made it gold.
thank
This is
you.
awesome. I hope you
Oh,
guys.
thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah. Thanks
I
for
hope
having
your
me.
phones
I
are blowing
appreciate
up.
it.
I hope your phones are blowing up tomorrow with people that heard this and get out. That's the whole key to this. Listen, we're not out here.
We're going to share. We're going to keep
We're
the
not out
word
here-
up. We're going to put the word out. We're going to keep it up.
Let's get
We're
it,
not out here
guys.
and selling something or whatever it is, but when you can bring people on like you guys, it sells itself. And I love seeing people successful. So best of luck to both of you guys. Go follow Justin, follow Anthony. I'm telling you guys, it's good stuff. You're learning every day. That's the coolest part about it. It's different. And follow Tony Darnell, because he's winning awards right and left in the RV.
And if you're not following us, go follow us. Go to YouTube, follow us, subscribe. That way, you get the emails. You're in here every week. So like and follow, share, reshare, hashtag.
Hold my beer.
Right.
All right.
Thanks for having me on, guys.